Good day, everyone. We are the group assigned for presenting DNR Administrative Order number 2016-08 or Water Quality Guidelines and General Effluent Standard 2016. Next slide. My group mates are Alojacin, Bernarte, Cabangon, Delos, Santos, Louies, and me, Mayo. Next slide. As we all know, the percentage of population is bigger compared to the percentage of water that can be used throughout the world. That is why here in the Philippines, the government implemented an act to take care of the water system in our country. As is stated on National Water Quality Status Report or EMB, Environmental Management Bureau, based on BOD, biological oxygen demand loadings, the 33% of pollution in water are from domestic, 27% are from industrial, 29% are from agricultural, and the rest are from non-point sources. DNR Administrative Order number 2016-08 or the Water Quality Guidelines and General Effluent Standard of 2016, Section 1, Basic Policy. It tackles the manner of protection and preservation of different kinds of water such as brackish, or also known as salty water, fresh and marine water. Section 2. Its objective is to provide guidelines for the classification of water bodies in our country to evaluate the stages of deterioration or the process which the water become worse, to be able to know the action needed to control and prevent those problems. Next slide po. Section 3. Scope coverage. The WQG or Water Quality Guidelines apply to all bodies of water in our country and shall be used for classifying it. In this section discusses also the positive action needed to enhance and control the deterioration of different bodies of water. This WQG shall be used in the process of designating WQMA or Water Quality Management Areas. The general effluent standards also applies to all point sources of pollution. Section 4. Definition of terms. The purpose of this section is to discuss the meaning of the following: annual average, assimilative capacity, discharge, effluent, establishment, freshwater, general effluent standard, or GES. GES is any legal restriction or limitation on quantities, rate, or concentration, or any combination thereof, physical, chemical, or biological parameters of effluent which a person or point sources is allowed to discharge into a body of water or land. Next is geometric mean, groundwater, industry, marine water, maximum allowable limit, natural background concentration, navigable water, point source, pollutant, potable water, primary contact, recreation, primary parameters, protected water, receiving water body, secondary parameters, secretary, significant effluent quality parameters, strong waste water, surface water, treatment, water body, water pollution. Water quality guidelines. Water quality guidelines is level for water constituent or numerical values of physical, chemical, biological, and bacteriological or radiological parameters which are used to classify water resources and their use. Next is Water Quality Management Area, WQMA. Certain areas designated using appropriate physiographic units that share common interest or face similar development programs, prospects, or problems. The next reporter is Cabangon.
Pakibalik mo na doon sa Section 5, Classification of Water Bodies. There are 9 classifications. Class AA or Class AA is the public water supply class 1 or is intended primarily for waters having watersheds which are uninhabited and or otherwise declared as protected areas and which required only approved disinfection to meet the latest Philippine national standard for drinking waters. Class A or the public water supply class 2 is intended as sources of water supply requiring conventional treatment to meet the latest Philippine national standard for drinking water. Class B is the recreational water class 1, intended for primary contact recreation, for bathing, swimming, and etc. Class C is for fishery water for the propagation and growth of fish and other aquatic resources. Recreation water class 2 for boating, fishing, or similar activities. For agriculture, irrigation, and livestock watering. Class D is the navigable waters. For table 2, there are four class SA is for protected waters, water designated as national or local marine parks, reserves, sanctuaries, and other areas established by law, Presidential Proclamation 1801, and other existing laws, and are decided as such by appropriate government agency, LGUs, and etc. For fishery water class 1, suitable for shellfish harvesting for direct human consumption. Class SB is for fishery water class 2, water suitable for commercial propagation or shellfish and intended as spawning areas for milkfish and similar species. 2 is tourist zones for ecotourism and recreation activities. Recreation water class 1, intended for primary contact recreation for bathing, swimming, skin diving, etc. Class SC is fishery water class 3 for the propagation and growth of fishery and other aquatic resources, and intended for commercial and sustenance fishing. Recreation water class 2 is for boating, fishing, or similar activities. 3. Marshy and or mangrove areas declared as fish and wildlife sanctuaries. Class D is for navigable waters. Next slide. Section 6 or water quality guidelines. In this section, the rules and regulations are intended to maintain and preserve the quality of all bodies of water to its intended beneficial usage. Guidance for water quality or for fresh water and marine waters. The water quality guidance provided for in table 3 to 6 shall be maintained for each water classification. Chemical, physical, and biological properties are tested on, or monitored based on the desired water parameters or concerned. In table 1, primary parameters are frequently sampled are in this table. Biological oxygen demand, chloride, color, dissolved oxygen, fecal coliform, nitrate, pH, range, phosphate, temperature, total suspended solids. These are the parameters that is commonly or the primary parameters in water quality guidance. In this, you can see also in this table is the classification of waters with its quantity, with its values under the classification are restriction or limitation or quantity states that must be met in these parameters. In the table 2, the next table is for the inorganic or metal parameters. Table 4 to 6 are other quality parameters to be used in baseline assessment as part of the environmental impact assessment and other monitoring purposes. As defined in the recommended parameters, frequency and duration of sampling of the ambient water quality monitoring manual issued to EMB Memorandum Circular 2008-008. So you can see in this table, is also the chemicals that can be found in the waters, which also has its values that must be in limitation or the standard quantity of this of the chemicals that found in waters. Next presenter na po.
In section 6.2, which is the guidelines for groundwater quality, stated that groundwater shall be maintained at a quality consistent with its intended beneficial usage. It is for the purpose of preserving and protecting groundwater quality. For example, source of potable water and other domestic use. It adopts Class A in water quality guidelines or the WQG, except biochemical oxygen demand, BOD, which represents the amount of oxygen consumed by bacteria and other microorganisms. Next is for bathing and other primary contact recreation that needs to adopt Class B, except BOD and dissolved oxygen. Another is the beneficial use of irrigation, fish culture, and livestock watering. It adopts Class C, except BOD, dissolved oxygen, and total suspended solids. For Section 6.3, the important consideration, it is where the WQG are set regardless of the assimilative capacity of water bodies and to ensure that assimilative capacities are not exceeded. So assimilative capacity is the ability for pollutants to be absorbed by an environment without adverse effect on the environment itself or on users of its resources. The WQG set forth in Table 3 to 6, which is discussed by Mr. Cabangon, are number 1, the annual average of at least 10 data sets of primary parameters except fecal coliform, the bacteria that lives in the intestines of humans and animals. They aid in digestion of food. Number 2, annual average of at least 4 data sets for secondary inorganic parameters. Number 3, geometric means of at least 3 data sets per quarter for fecal coliform. Number 4, maximum allowable limit for secondary metals and organic parameters. Number 5, for water quality parameters that are naturally occurring in the Philippines, the natural background concentration as determined by Environmental Management Bureau or EMB shall prevail if the concentration is higher than the WQG. Section 7. Next slide, please. Section 7, the general effluent standards, discharges from any point source shall at all times meet the effluent standards set forth in Table 2 to 3 to maintain the required quality per body classification. The general effluent standard or GES shall be used regardless of the industry category. Effluent or the liquid waste used for irrigation and other agricultural purpose shall conform to the Department of Agriculture Administrative Order 2007-26 or the guidelines on the procedures and technical standards for the issuance of a certification allowing for safe use of wastewater for the purpose of irrigation and other agricultural uses. Next section is to be discussed by the next reporter, Ms. Kit Alojacin.
Thank you, Ms. Loy. For the section 7.1, the significant effluent quality parameters per sector. For purposes of streamlining compliance and enforcement of the GES, the significant effluent quality parameters per sector are listed in Table 8. Table 8 is not included in our PowerPoint presentation, but I will also discuss. For Table 8, the significant effluent quality parameters per sector has a category of agriculture, forestry, and fishing that has a industry category of animal production, aquaculture, excluding the fish pens, B, mining and quarrying, which is mining of coal and ignite, extraction of crude, petroleum, and natural gas, and support activities, mining of iron ores, mining of precious metal ores, gold ore mining, silver, platinum, copper, chromite, manganese, nickel, and the pyrite mining. Also the rock phosphate mining. For the manufacturing, the slaughtering and meat packing, production, processing, and preserving of meat and meat products, processing and preserving of fish, crustaceans, and mollusks, except the Caribbean. Next is the processing of seaweeds, manufacture of agar-agar, the processing and preserving of fruits and vegetables, the manufacture of vegetables and animal oils and fats, the manufacture of dairy products, manufacture of grain meal products, starches and starch products, except the rice, corn, and cassava, flour, and then next is the rice, corn, milling, cassava flour, manufacture of other food products, except the sugar. Next is the manufacture of sugar, which are the sugar and the sugar refining, manufacture of prepared animal feeds, manufacture of beverages, manufacture of tobacco products, manufacture of textiles, and the manufacture of wearing apparel, tanning and dressing of leather, manufacture of veneer sheets, manufacture of plywood, laminated board, particle board, and other panels and board, wooden window and screens, paper and paperboard printing, manufacture of coke oven products, manufacture of refined petroleum products, manufacture of other fuel products, then manufacture of ethanol. For food and beverages, fuel application, blending of ethanol for antiseptic, solvent, manufacture of industrial compressed and liquefied gases, manufacture of inorganic, organic, and other basic chemicals, manufacture of alcohol except ethyl alcohol, fertilizers and nitrogen compounds, manufacturing of plastics and synthetic rubber in primary forms, pesticides, and other agrochemical products. Also, the manufacture of paints, ink, varnishes, and similar coating materials, manufacture of soap and detergents, cleaning and polishing preparations, perfumes, and toilet preparations. Also, the manufacture of glues and adhesives, which are the synthetic glues and adhesives, animal or plant-derived glues and adhesives. Also, the manufacture of miscellaneous chemicals products not elsewhere classified. And also the electricity, gas, steam, and air conditioning supply, which are the electric power generation, except the transmissions and distributions. Coal, natural gas, oil, geothermal, hydro, biomass, and then the manufacture of gas, distribution of gaseous fuels through mains, the air conditioning supply and production of ice, except the steam production. Next is the water supply, sewerage, waste management, and remediation activities, which are the water collection, treatment, and supply, except those intended to prevent pollution. Sewerage operations of sewer systems or sewage treatment facilities that collect, treat, and dispose of sewage. Also, the treatment and disposal of non-hazardous waste, treatment and disposal of hazardous waste, and then the remediation activities and other waste management services. The next category is the wholesale and retail trade repair of motor vehicles and motorcycles, which are the maintenance and repair of vehicles, their parts and components, excluding vulcanizing or the tire-related preparations. Also the wholesale and retail sale of automotive fuels. Next category is the transportation and storage, which the cold storage. Also the category of accommodation and food services, which is the hotel, motel, resorts, dormitories, and other accommodation services. Also the restaurants, food chains, bars, and other food or the beverage services. Also, next category is the real estate activities, which is the real estate activities with own or lease property. Next category is the professional, scientific, and technical activities, which are technical testing and analysis, research and experimental development of natural sciences and engineering, veterinary activities, and then next category is the education, which is the public and private education, including the support activities. Next category is the human health and social works, which are the hospitals, clinic, nursing homes, and other human health and residential care activities. Also, the other human health activities, which is the medical laboratories inside and outside for medical facilities. The other services activities are the washing and dry cleaning of textile and fur products, funeral and related activities. And then the other classifications are the public markets, scrubbing of flue gases from firing systems, primarily in scrubbing of gases from firing systems. This shall not apply to wastewater from other industrial waste. Also, the gas scrubbing system from cooling circuits of power stations and industrial processes. Effluent from oil-water separations of auxiliary facilities, and the effluent from cooling ponds, cooling towers, and similar facilities of the non-contact cooling system. For the section 7.2, effluent standards will be discussed by our next reporter, which is Mr. Delos Santos. Thank you.
Report is all about the effluent standards based on Dow 2016. In section 7.2, the effluent standard being consistent with the goal of maintaining water bodies with a very friendly application of irrigation usage. As you can see in the table here, the parameters listed are the effluent standard, the effluent or the liquid waste which is allowed to dispose into the river. As you can see in class AA, the parameters or the elements, they are not allowed to discharge in the river or to the bodies of water. Because class AA is intended primarily for water-saving watersheds, which are uninhabited and or otherwise declared as protected areas, such as dams, which is our primary resources of drinking water. And that is also the and the standards of it is which meet the latest of PNSW are the Philippine National Standard Drinking Water. And as you can see in the table, both class AA and A is used for public water supply. And the table indicates that they they are only allowed minimum discharge of this waste. And And also about for the class B and C, which is allowed for recreational water, there are no difference in which the parameters are allowed to discharge into the river. Unlike having the class SA, SB, and SC, which can be used as fishery water or recreational water class. Next slide, please. And this is the continuation of table 9, which consists of the other effluent parameters which is allowed to dispose in the water. Next, please. Section 8.0, modification of WQGNGS. WQGNGS stands for Water Quality Guidelines, and GS stand for um, and a person, both natural and judicial, may request for the modification of WQG and GS as described in this section. It means that as per the DNR Secretary, through the Energy Management Board, we can request the modification of the table if their value is being changed as it suits for the RA 9275 or the Clean Water Act of the Philippines. It is also the same as the section 8.2 and 8.3, which means any person or both natural and judicial may request for the modification of a class specific WQG value. That's it. The next topic will be discussed by the next reporter.
Hello, I'm Ron Irish, I'm Bernarte, and I'm here to discuss the Section 9, Section 15 of DOA 2016-08. Section 9, Periodic Review. According to the Section 19 of Philippine Clean Water Act of 2004, this order shall be reviewed periodically and amended as necessary. Section 10, Grace Period. Grace period may be given but shall limited to any of the following. A. Value for general effluent standard have become stringent compared to the value of DOW 1990-35. In such cases, DOW 1990-35 shall apply during the grace period. B. New significant effluent quality parameters were identified for the sector. If under these cases, the establishment will be given a grace period of not more than 5 years if they submit a compliance action plan and periodic status implementation to the ENR. If not, they can be issued a cease and desist order. Section 11, Provisions. This section states the following 8 prohibited acts in regard on the liquid waste management and disposal. Violating or disregarding this prohibited act will lead to the fine imprisonment, or closure. Number 1, no effluent from any point source shall be discharged into Class AA and Class SA waters. Number 2, no effluent shall cause quality of the receiving bodies to fall below the WSE standard, IWQG, in accordance to its classification. No person shall discharge wholly or partially untreated or inadequately treated effluent directly into the receiving water body. No person shall use submarine outfall or any underground conveyance as its means of discharge effluent, except when all of the following conditions are met. Number 5, no person shall build, erect, or install or use any equipment, contrabands, or any means to use which conceal or dilute an effluent in which constitute the violation and provision of this regulation. Section 12, fines, damage, and penalties. Any person or establishment found violating or failing to comply with order or decision of the department or any prohibition of this order shall be liable under the Section 28 of the Philippine Clear Water Act that can lead to fines, cease and desist, and imprisonment. Section 13. Separability clause states that this order is reviewed or under revision, the previous section are still in force. Section 14, reappealing cause, states that all the order, issuance, rules, and regulation or part of inconsistent with this order are hereby amended, modified, and reappealed accordingly. Section 15, effectivity, states that this order shall take effect within 15 days after its publication and upon acknowledgement of the receiving copy by the Office of National Administrative Register. And that's all for the report for DOA 2016-08.